Welcome to Women in Leadership, The Power Within. I'm your host, Julia Ombasi. Now, this is a show that talks about the journeys of the women who get into leadership positions, the strategies they use, the fears sometimes they have, the resilience they have, and that is what we want to talk about today. Now, today we have an interesting guest. She is the CEO for the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and her name is Carole Kariuki. Caroline has been the CEO for the past almost 15 years. Yes, and we are so glad to have her. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
To be honest, I've been looking forward to having you, because you really resonate with the kind of audience that we have. And so even looking at you, as I've talked about you as the CEO, but there's a person in there who really is Caroline.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And happy to be at the show and listen and really just sharing my story. I don't think it's a great story, but it's a story. And who am I? I think for me, when I look at myself, I just see myself as, it's hard to not see myself as just that little girl, who has always been, but then who has now a stage where she has a role that she needs to make an impact. And of course, I see myself now as a wife. I see myself as a daughter, as a sister, as a cousin, as a friend. And I think away from work, that's who I'm always and will always be. And I'm always telling my friends, I mean, when I talk to young girls, one of the things I say, I never did it deliberately, but when I look back, I think it was the best decision I made. I never left who I was because of my role. I never left my family, my friends. When I leave Kepsa in the evening, the people I hang out with are not the people I spend my day with.
Absolutely, your friends.
They're my friends who I've known some when I was 2 years old, some in college, in high school. That's who I am, who I feel I am, because that's what has brought me to who I am today.
Who you are. Did it ever occur to you, when you talked about the little girl, did it ever occur to you that you'd be in such a position? Like when you're in secondary school and in campus, did you ever dream of being, in the national private sector?
No. No, I never saw myself in this role. I knew for a long time, and I'm reminded this by a lot of my friends or my mentors, that all I wanted was to make impact. So the things I did, even in school, were things that had impact. So that's who I always wanted to be. When I was in college,
to make a difference.
Just make a difference. If I was in a Bible study, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to walk with young Christians. I was always looking out to where's an opportunity to make a difference. When I did holiday jobs, like when I worked in Barclays, and it was a difficult time when banks were transitioning to this whole computers era and all that. I just saw opportunities where I could make a difference. I could see, and it was not big things. I would be like, if the staff maybe worked from this time to this time, if they did this, and then I would go and propose to my supervisors, because I always felt I was there I always saw gaps and I wanted to fix them. So I always saw an opportunity. And so that's really, even up to today, for me, I always see where's the opportunity to make a difference. So
how can I fill the gap?
Where can I fill the gap?
How long were you in Barclays?
No, a very short time. I did mostly when I was in college, the holiday jobs. Then after college, I think I only did like 7 months. Then I felt banking wasn't my calling and I left. But it gave me that start of thinking, even in that little space, you can make more difference than just dealing with checks, So it's just not passing paper, but there's a lot more little things you can do that make a difference in people's lives who are working there. So that's me.
Did you ever feel, when you're in Barclays and when you've been in this role, do you ever feel a breaking point, a time when you're feeling like this is it, I either break, or grow, Are there moments you felt like that?
Many. I think in every place I worked, in my short life in Barclays, I felt that because at that point, the one thing I couldn't do is because now we're doing shifts. So those who are working during the day and the night, I couldn't do the night shifts.
That's when you were changing the systems
The
or what?
systems, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't do the night shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a night owl, but I don't work in the night.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll work until about 11, but not beyond that. So that I couldn't do, and I felt like I could break. And my supervisor was kind to just move me today.
Yeah.
You know, then I left and went to do a leadership classes and an internship at Nairobi Chapel, and so basically a leadership training for 2 years, and now was a breaking point. You know, church is not the easiest place to work with, and especially members. You know, they are very, you know, they know what they want, especially when you're discussing about middle class and all that.
I hear you.
And so that was hard, and the supervisor pushed us, but I'm glad he did, because I think of the things I have to do today, a lot of it came from there. He pushed us, and he always used to say, I throw you in the deep end, you swim or you sink.
Yeah.
You know, and he threw us up in the deep end, you know, and that really helped me develop some of the skills of survival. Yeah, and there were many nights we cried, we were young. I know, right? You know, we had just finished college and all that, but that was really good training when now I look back at it. Yeah. Then of course in KEPSA have quit many times. I've cried many times. You know, yeah, it has had its breaking points. Yeah, many times.
But even before we get even to saying more about those moments, you know, there's that broken rung, you know, where you are moving, you need that big promotion to put you into management. And a lot of women get stuck there. Stuck there, so that once you're stuck there, it's very hard to go up. How did you fix that? How did you get to pass that place that you passed and you came into management? I think for me it's because I was not really looking for it. I was looking for opportunities. You were just working.
I was just working. I was looking for opportunities where I make a difference. So anytime I saw the next thing, I'll do it. But I was also very fortunate because when I joined KEPSA, it was very small. And so there were a lot more opportunities of growth, you know, and so that helped, you know. So I think if I had landed in a mega organization or had gone back to Barclays and all that, I think it would have taken time, even though even there I had opportunities to grow. But this was easier in that sense. And then the organization, because it was growing and because of the nature of the organization, as small as it was very influential. And as it grew, it became more influential. So that my space grew with that. So I grew with it. Exactly. You know, and I always say, whoever is coming after me, I really feel sorry for them.
Oh my goodness.
Because then they're finding this mega organization, and then they have to manage it and grow it to the next level. I you know, for me, I grew to the small, and there are challenges of growing a small organization. You know, it's like it's a small business. You know, it's difficult. You do almost everything. You know, you're the contact person of everyone. You're dealing with every financial decision. You're dealing with every HR decision. You know, there's so much more you do. But it grows you. It builds you, and you become very whole because you're doing everything. So by the time you are releasing those roles, you know them, you understand them, you know. So so that I was fortunate for that I came to an organization that was small, but already very influential, and so grew with it, and I was able now to grow it to the next level.
But you sound like, because when you said that you kept doing things, you were not even looking for the promotion. So basically what you're saying is that to get to the leadership position is to just work. To serve. I think for me is serve. If you see an opportunity that opens up and can make you do more, go for it. But don't shy off. Don't shy off. But don't go for something because of the glamour. You know, now I want the title. The title. The title. You know, I tell people the title is a driving license. It just makes you do. Gets you on the road. You know, and keeps you on the road. You know, so if you look at it as an arrival, or something that now I have and now I should be served, you know, then you're not gonna go far, you know. And also you can if you do that, you can also start looking for it in the wrong ways. That's true. And especially as a woman, you know, you think, okay, what do I need to do? And
if you start thinking like that, what do I need to do to get this? You start thinking, okay, who do I talk to? What can I get? You know, and then people take advantage of you.
Absolutely.
You know, but if you're just going in and seeing opportunities and moving on them, they open up. The doors open up. People see your skills, and you find that that you're being allowed in spaces because of your capabilities.
Of what you're bringing on board.
You know, what you're bringing on board. So always think, what am I bringing on board? How do I better myself? So even being in KEPS, I've had to do a lot of courses because you don't know it all. You know, management courses, policy courses, leadership courses. So you keep improving yourself as you grow. You know, you never stop learning. And as you learn, opportunities open.
You know, you talked about the organization being small and you having to do a lot of things. Has that helped in any way as the leader now? Because you probably know all other, you know, certain roles. Is that helpful?
It has. I think I'm a better person than someone who just starts their job in a big organization and just starts in a department where they just grow with that. They'll become very specialized, and that has its benefits. But I think there's also benefit for those who start small and grow, because then you also understand a lot more. You're more well-rounded about the organization than just sticking in one place. And
you see, a CEO needs to understand what is happening around, to be able to understand people and to meet their needs.
And meet their needs.
Have you ever found yourself wanting to adopt to masculinity? You know, I want to sound like this, I want to be like this, because of fear of not being heard, your voice not being heard?
Never. And I know, and I say it genuinely, because when I joined in, remember, I'm coming in. I haven't been in this space, and after I left Nairobi Chapel, I left the country. I went and did my masters. I worked abroad a bit. So when I come back, I haven't really been in the corporate sector, and you know, and even the little I did in Barclays, I was really not in the corporate sector because I never interacted with anyone. I was young. You know, you're just training. You're just a trainee. You know, and so I'm getting into this corporate sector. It's all new. That time it was it's changing, but it was very male dominated. KEPSA then was a lot of big business. So it was a lot of the who is who, you know, in the country. And a lot of them were basically my father's age or older, you know. And so here I am, and I come in, I'm young, I'm small, I'm a woman, you know. But I never thought of any of those things. Actually, it's people who would tell me, and I start to think, oh yeah, oh I'm young, I'm small, I'm a woman. You know, for me, it was just my capabilities. You know, that's what puts me on the table. And so I never felt I needed to. And the first time I walked into a boardroom, and it was all male dominated. And I looked around, and everyone was in a dark suit, and I thought, no, I love color. You know. And I never wore those dark suits. You know, and I said, I'm not in a boardroom.
You don't have to be traditional.
Another man. I'm there because I'm a woman. The look, the feel, the everything. But my capabilities are like for every other man, you know.
Absolutely.
So my capabilities puts me there. But there's also what I bring in as a woman. I bring the soft side into the boardroom. I bring the intuition into the boardroom, you know. So and so I've remained a woman throughout.
I like what you're saying, that you leave and you go and have a good time with your friends. But I'm thinking everyone looks at a leader as that person who has it all, you know, that person who has a schedule. They need to keep their schedule, you know. You can't fault, you know, you need to meet with the government officials, you need to do certain things, you know. How do you manage to do that and without burnout? Because you see, you're talking about what you're meeting your friends, but you still have a full schedule. So how do you do that?
It's not easy. It came at a cost. I hit burnout the first 2 years.
Oh, you did?
I did. And it's because at that point, when I took over in KEPS at 2010, it's just when even the government was demanding a lot more from us. We were getting more members. We had 10,000 members when I joined in. We grew. We hit 100,000, and we're growing, and you know. And so I was still doing it all because we still had a very small team in the office. And I landed in hospital.
Oh wow.
And 4 days later when I left, I knew.
You knew what you need to do.
There was nothing wrong, but my body was shutting down. Yeah. So I knew it was, the doctor told me that we can't find anything. Yes, everything, your organs look like they're shutting down, everything, but there's no disease, So what have you, and when I explained what my schedule was, he said it's burnout.
It's burnout.
Yeah.
It's burnout.
And from that time now, I started taking care of myself a little better. Yeah.
I think you partly answered what I was going to ask next, but you transformed this organization from a small organization. What do you attribute to it? What is it that, how did you do it?
The CEO gets all the accolades, but the CEO can never do it all.
Yeah.
So I think I attribute it on several things. One, I had a very good team, and even for them, many hit burnout. Yeah, I was not the only one who hit burnout at different times. Many hit burnout at some different points. Some left. So the team burnt the midnight candle with me, the midnight oil. The support. I mean, I was very. I think because of how I have grown up, loved and supported. So I don't know how to work in a place where I don't have support. So I have had very good board members, especially in that season of growth, who really, really supported me, worked with me, mentored me, and many of them are still my mentors today. People like Dr. Manu Chandaria, the Billies of this world, the Patrick Obarts, the Dennis Aworis, the Lee Karoris, they still are my mentors today in this field because they worked with me, especially in those very early days, the Vimalshas, early days of KEPSA and building it up.
Yes.
And so that really helped. Government, again at that point, President Kibaki was in power. Grandfather role really always encouraged me. He'd hold my hand and say, "You're loved." I'd feel so encouraged.
Nice.
And at that time, I'm so tired organizing the meetings, dealing with, all the interests. You can imagine you're dealing with captains of industry. These are all leaders in their own rights.
Yeah.
So you're having cuts, and you've got to get everyone to agree on certain things because you cannot go to government with dissenting voices. So to do that sometimes is not that easy, And so, him and the people, his advisors and his team, they really, really took me and held me like, some a daughter, others a granddaughter, and just cared for me. And that really made me blossom. So by the time the next government was coming, and many of them were already in the former government, President Uhuru was Deputy Prime Minister, so I already had worked with him, when he was the Minister of Finance and all that. So it just helped the transition. So as even the age gap started narrowing with the later governments, so it stopped being father, daughter to brother, sister, and that really helped. And that support and their team, and especially I must acknowledge, especially the teams in the president's offices, both during Kibaki's time, President Uhuru, and even right now, the people who I feel give the best support and the people who encourage me is the people who work around the president. His team, they've been very supportive over the years. So and then different ministries, that I've worked with, and and the different either CSAs, PSAs, that has really helped, and there are many I could name names, but I'll leave it at that. In Parliament, the speakers of Parliament have really. In all the different administrations I've worked with, they've really been supportive, and their teams in their offices. And so that's what has helped us work so closely. I look at judiciary. After 2010, and we had Justice Mutunga, the CJ, the first CJ.
Yes.
He's the one who started roundtables with us for the Chief Justice Office. And then came Maraga, and Maraga continued that and continued a great relationship with us. And now we have Kome, again, has continued to make sure that we are involved and we are part of the processes that are working in judiciary. So I feel all arms of government, there's been so much support and just that networking, that friendship. So I feel like for me, what has helped is that I feel that it's not just beyond where you just deal with papers, but you feel you connect to these people, and because we all want the same thing for the country. Yes. And that's what has really helped.
But you see, Caroline, I really love your modesty, but for you to do, even though other people have worked with you, even though the employees of KEPSA have been there, we must give credit to you. That for you to work well with people, then you must have good relationships. And it brings me to the idea of empowered delegation. You know, I want you to say something about empowered delegation and how you've managed to delegate work to people and they carry it out well. Because for people to carry out their assignments well, the delegation must have been done well.
Yeah, I don't know if I do very good delegation, but because of
you give opportunity.
I give opportunity. I give opportunity, and because of the training I had as my first training as a leader, as I said, it was in Nairobi Chapel as an intern doing leadership. I was trained to not micromanage, almost throw people in the deep end.
Yeah.
You know, you have the skills. You dive when you need air, meaning when you need help, call.
Yeah.
You know, but you go. So I've never learned to micromanage people, and I don't like to be micromanaged either because I never got to learn to be micromanaged. You know, I like people, you do your thing, you know, and you come when you need help.
Exactly.
And I also feel the same, you know, do my thing, and that's what my boards taught me. You know, even here in KEPSA, the people, the chairs of the boards, they've taught me, you do your thing. When you need help, come.
Yeah.
You know, where you need me, where you need a board member, you call. You know, but you run the organization. We have our organizations
in your
style because we have our organizations to run. You know, we are here to support you, to help you keep to help you with the vision and strategy and all that. But after that, we are gone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know how to micromanage. Neither can I work in a micromanaged environment.
Yeah. You are mentoring younger people, and you advocate so much for women businesses, and there seem to be some gaps in Kenya, you know, because a lot of women want to do business, they do not have the finances. Some of them will be middle class, some of them will be in the you've talked about Kibra, in the informal settlement schemes. How are you seeing us helping those women? Because they need to be helped, you know. Do you have a plan?
We do, and that's why we run many programs here that support women. You know, and we run several. You know, where there are women in business, women SMEs, youth. You know, and every time even we're training youth, whether it's in the digital space or the small businesses, we are always looking at the balance. You know, and our balance has been very good. 51% of all the small businesses we support are owned by women.
Beautiful.
You know, so it's a deliberate move to say we cannot be talking about ourselves and how we and why we are here and not do the same to the other women, you know, who are down there and do not have the opportunities. Our foundation, you know, our foundation director is also a woman very passionate about women, Gloria Ndekei, and she runs a lot. She does a lot to do with women in leadership and any space she can give to women. You know, so it's a deliberate move.
Absolutely.
Because we know they are a very important segment of the society. So whether they're in small businesses, whether they are young people who want to get digital jobs and digitally enabled jobs or digital skills, or women who want to move into leadership, you know, and what do they need? What are our simple journeys? What can we share? And what about other women who we're able to gather in a room who share their journeys? And so we're always looking for women to share their journeys because this is where the younger women will be. And I say this always very humbly to say my journey has been easier because I found trailblazers. There are women who had gone before me in business, in private sector. There are women who've gone before me in politics. And it's because leadership, the leadership principles are the same. No matter the sector. But they may be applied differently depending on the sector you're in. You know, and so I study them. I watch, I listen to them and their journeys and what they've had to go through, and I see maybe some of the pitfalls that I can avoid, or some of the things that I can enhance. You know, so that so so that for me it's very important to create the same pathway for others.
While we do not expect you to do everything, do you feel that the women have enough sponsorship or enough mentorship? Of course, we are not putting it on KEPSA, everything on KEPSA, but your observation.
And then the space now has opened up much more, and women are very good at connecting. I think I'm even more worried about the boy child.
Right now, eh?
Yeah, because the men thrived because the space was there, they were supported, you know, in every way. The system supported them, but as the system has gotten overwhelmed, and so the men have also been not had the system to support them. But I think for women, we see more women being supported in the sense because women, we connect, you know, so as we connect
and we look for help,
much more easier than men do, and young men, and so it's important that we fix wherever the system is broken, but also look at opportunities where men also can thrive. Absolutely. So that we're also not having women. You cannot have, you know, at one point we had the gender imbalance of men thriving and women never thriving. Now we're starting to shift that the other way around, especially in leadership and in you know, and just in the corporate world and even anywhere else. But then we need that balance. Okay. But that does not mean that women have gotten there. We still have so many women below the poverty line, and we need to keep raising them up, you know, so that that they are not left behind. There's still many who have been left behind. Okay. Yeah.
I really love your passion. I really love your passion. But we must take a break. When we come back, we're probably going to be talking more about, you know, leading without the title. It doesn't have to be with the title. Now, viewers, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll still be talking to Caroline Kariuki, the CEO for KEPSA. Welcome back to Women in Leadership, The Power Within. We are talking to Caroline Kariuki, the CEO for private sector, and it's just nice learning that she has really transformed KEPSA from a small organization to a much bigger and more impactful organization. We get back to our conversations. Caroline, what would you attribute? What 4 lessons or 4 things would you attribute to your success? Because I tell you, you're successful.
That's good to hear.
You are successful.
You know, I'm always saying what is not done, how much further to go. You know, so I think one, I would attribute it to family.
Oh,
I come from a very, very supportive family, you know, who really support you, and in the sense of they rejoice with you for every milestone. They look for opportunities. They know.
When you're talking about family, who is family?
Family for me, actually, that's a very good question. You know, for many people, family, they think of just their nuclear family. Yeah. For me, my family is my extended family, and it's big. I call it my clan. You know, and my grandmother now is passed on 2018, but before that I'm talking almost like for generations together, and you know, and really very loving, very supportive, you know, genuine love, you know, for each other. The love that people will stop anything and everything for you
to support you
if you need it, or they'll come and celebrate every little milestone. They look for even things that you're being celebrated elsewhere that you have not shared, and they put in the group and celebrate, you know. Yeah, so I think for me, that's family has been everything, you know, all the way to my nuclear family. And then my friends. And I think because of that, God has been faithful that I was able to attract similar friends. Absolutely. Yeah, who are very like my family. So I even call them family. I don't differentiate them. And they've been there. They've been there in every season, you know, in the highs and the lows, you know, when I needed to cry because something is not working. You know, one of my mentors says she's come to my house and I can't even sit on the seat. I'm so stressed out with what is happening with the politics and the economy that I'm seated on top of the seat. Oh, wow. And I'm crying and I'm telling her, you know, oh my goodness, think it's a baby who is sick, you know, and it's my work, you know, and so, yeah, so just that has been really the bigger support. And then now that support extending to
Yeah.
the members here in
Yeah.
KEPSA, in the board and all that. Members would come and say, what do you really need today? How can I help you?
Yeah.
From the blues. And I remember one time we were going for a round table and I was so stressed organizing it. I'd had some, there'll always be what I call the Sanballats and Tobias from the Bible who will always discourage you.
Make you think you're doing nothing.
And it's tomorrow and it's 5 p.m. and I'm seated at my desk and I'm thinking, my goodness, how is tomorrow gonna work because of these discouragers? And she calls me from the blues, and it's not the usual person who call every day.
Yeah.
But she called, and she was a member. She was leading one of the sectors, and she calls me and she says, hi. And I think, okay, one more issue that has not been put in that needs to go in for tomorrow. And she just says, hi, I just wanted to know how I can support you. And I just broke down. I couldn't hold it. Yeah, And so I called her back and I told her what was happening. She said, okay, let me pray with you. Yeah. So I think that whole ecosystem is, I could say, has been my anchor. Yeah. And I talked about even people in government and elsewhere, even development partners. Every time the cycle changes, how they change every 5 years. Exactly. I always move.
You have to adopt.
Yeah, because I feel I've connected with them, we've worked well, and now they have to go. And I have to start the relationship over and again. So over that period of 15 years, I have seen many come and go, and I've mourned those relationships. So that whole ecosystem, I think, has been the biggest thing. I think the second thing is the freedom to experiment, to try, to fail. I think Eva was in a very strict environment where I can't. Rigid is a real word. In a rigid environment, I can't work. I have no wiggle room. I just have to do this and that. I don't think I'd have survived. Because I like to fly in my mind. I like to think. I like to innovate. I like to I like to try new things. I like to see opportunities that are not there. Naturally. So having that freedom, again, I think is what has really helped me. Being able to be where I am today. And thirdly, I think, and I'm saying them in no order, because I think I should have started with the first one. I think being a Christian, and I think because we hear it and many times it's used as a cliche, I think for me it's not a cliche. I think I would never have done it without God. The many times I've been on my knees because I cannot see the next step, and sometimes I just say, Lord, all I want is enough light for the next step, in not many steps, the next step, and I think for me that relationship, I attribute it to everything, to everything that I have, and then what else? What's the fourth thing I could say?
The fourth thing, you know what I think it is? You're so real. Because you can only get ahead if you're real. If when you cry, you cry.
Yeah, when I cry, I cry. I've cried in the house, I've cried anywhere.
Authenticity.
You've got, I think I just was myself. I've been myself. I've never tried to be someone else.
You're not scared to cry.
And then, I could add a fifth one. I don't compete.
Oh, beautiful.
I do not compete with anyone. I don't compete for anything.
You fit in your space.
In my space. This is my space, and this is what I can do now, and this is what I can be now. When I can be somebody else or get to the next thing, then I go. So when I get to a space where there's competition, I can't thrive in that. I pull back. I crawl back completely because I don't know how to compete.
I hear you. I hear you.
So I just was never trained to compete.
But seeing that you're a person who is surrounded by people, be it community, be it in the office space, how do you decide to ignore certain noise? Because there must be many advice. Everyone has something to say. Everyone has something to advise. How do you get back to yourself and say, no, I need to remain in this vision and do this?
I think once I set a vision, and once a vision has been set, there are many ways to get there. And so I keep my eye on the vision or eye on the ball. And then whatever information I'm getting, I sieve it to see, is it taking me to that goal?
To where you're going.
To where I'm going.
Because it could be good, but it's not going.
It's not going there. Or is it, even if it's good and it's getting me there, is this what I need right now? Is it
the timing?
The timing of it. So the timing, the value of it, you know, and yeah. So I'll go in a boardroom and everyone, as I said, I handle cuts. You know, I'm always, you know, but I allow them. I allow everyone to speak their mind, everyone to give their advice, and then I sit back and I look at it now and I say, okay, what makes sense now?
Is this, yeah.
And what makes sense to where I'm going, you know. And then I also have to also realize, well, sometimes it's all well-meaning and everyone means well. I'm also the one who wears the shoe. So there are certain things they are giving from where they wear the shoe, the organizations they lead, the organizations they own, and doesn't work here, you know. And so I have to be careful not to take everything in, but to say it has its place. So I place every advice to where it belongs, you know, and then I pick what is best. And sometimes I'll miss it, but
I know.
Yeah, because you can't be perfect. Yeah, you cannot be perfect, and I have to keep reminding myself I'm only human.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
you know, I will fail, but I need to keep failing forward, you know, not backward, you know, and so yeah.
But you know, ladies are so ambitious. We are so ambitious that sometimes we can say yes to everything because we do not want to lose an opportunity. You see a good opportunity and it may not be the right time as you talk about it, but you want to, so how did you learn to say no? And are you comfortable saying no?
No, it's a hard thing to say. So many times I just listen. And one of my friends said one time that Carole will just listen and she will nod, but she means she's not doing it. I'm like, how did you read that? No, I'm like, yeah. So because it's not, maybe it's not cultural to always say no. I'm learning now that I'm older to say no, but not always have been. Maybe the things that I've been able to say no are the things that are they're obvious. I should say no. Yeah, I know there are times. I mean, we've needed, you know, the finances in the organization, and here comes a partner, a foreign partner, who's saying, we can run this program, and this is what I'll be able to fund and everything. But I look at it, I say, yes, as much as KEPSA needs that money, what this is going to do to the country is actually detrimental to the country. Exactly. It's not positive. Oh, wow. And I will say no. You know, so you have to look for the interests of your country. You've got to look at the interests of your country, because then why am I here? You know, if at the end of the day, my country would have been destroyed, well, I had opportunities in my space to say no. You know, so yeah, so I've said no many sometimes, even as much as we've needed the money, you know, but because it's not in the interest of the organization, it's not in the interest of the country. Yeah. There are moments when there's a setback in the sense that maybe a policy that has been made is not promoting your mission or your vision, you know. How do you handle that? In a policy set by who? Maybe by the government, for instance. Because there must be policies that you have to. Yes, very many, and that's why that's what my job is about. You know, I'm the intermediary for business and government. So sometimes government will come up with a policy well-meaning, but doesn't work for the private sector. Exactly. Or doesn't work for a section of the private sector, which the private sector is not on the wrong in that. But if that policy went through, or that regulation, or that law, it will actually destroy jobs. It will destroy businesses. And so I have to stand up and really advocate for my members, because I'm here to advocate for my members. How do you advocate? I go to government with a policy, you know, and we don't. I say we don't just run and say, oh, the shoe hurts. You know, there's a process, you know, of this is done, this has been done this way. The process of advocacy is a 5-stage, and I could explain it another time. And you have to cover the 5 stages of the advocacy. So it's not just going to government and telling them, please remove this. Exactly. No, it's understanding why was this put? Did they put? Why did they? What does it mean? Where was it put? How do I propose what is the right thing? And if it's something government is putting because it's part of raising revenue, what can I give them as an alternative of how they could raise that
So you have an alternative.
Yes, you have to also think of alternatives of what government is trying to do. You know, because they mean well. They mean well for the country or a section of the country.
Yeah.
But if it's going to affect the other side in the wrong way, then you have to think, what am I going to offer them, or how can we do this differently to achieve the same goal? So you have to think through those and work on them and process them, and then find out who are the right people in every stage, because a law, a policy involves so many people in government.
Exactly.
You know, so you've got to understand all those stages and who to work with and who to talk to. And then and engage, and that's how you create the relationships. So the need to create those relationships is so that you can now sit down and work on those things, because it's very hard to just work with a stranger. You know, so you build the relationship so that you're able to sit down and work on those areas.
We talked about the broken rank, you know, and this is a show for women in leadership, and so we will talk more about women. Yes. What are those barriers you think are standing in the way of women advancing? You know, there are barriers that stand in the way, and we could be the best we could, but we are not reaching our potential. What would those be?
I think there are many barriers that affect women. Women and their health. We go through different stages of our health, you know, hormonal and all that, and those do affect us.
They
do. There are times we've agreed to do certain things with my male counterparts, and I sit down and I say, the wrong week.
You know?
I know. And then they don't get stopped. They keep moving. Yes. And I tell myself, what am I trying? I cannot do it with them, you know. Yes, so I think...
So you'll have to catch up with them.
Yeah, so so it becomes a barrier, and it's a natural barrier. You can't do anything about it.
I was reading something from the family therapy, you know, family therapy book, and it was suggesting that a woman, to get people to hear you, you need to seem to suggest something, not to assertively say, is that a true or
I don't
not
think
so true?
So. Maybe at some point it was. I don't think anymore. What I think is that for women, you cannot, aggressiveness is not is not attractive. I think because of the society.
That's what it is. Yes.
But it doesn't mean you don't need to be assertive. You can be assertive without being aggressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think it's focusing to know you're tough.
Yeah.
And to have the standards and the boundaries.
But how can we get women in more high-ranking positions? You know, because we talk about the 1/3, you know, and how do we get them there?
I think we need to keep addressing those barriers that are what I would call the non-natural barriers, the systems that keep women out, you know, the laws, you know, if it's that 2/3 law and all that. I think as we keep addressing the system, those are the non-natural laws that keep women out. I think women will get there, and we've seen women more and more get there. And then I think for the natural ones, we just need to support each other as women.
Exactly.
You know, and I think when I talked about family and friends, I think one of the things I should have emphasized, for me, the greatest support I have received is from women. You know, from my grandmother to my mother to my aunties, and then to my friends, you know, to women in government, to women else in politics, you know. So that support of women supporting each other, because we do well with support, and we know how to support each other when we do, I think that will help us deal with all the other issues that we need to, you know, and find ways and get a lot of help. I think we shouldn't be afraid to ask for help, you know, so that we can manage what we have to manage. Because at the end of the day, I look at it, if, let's say I'm traveling for work. And so I'll be here, I'll work all day, all evening, I'll try to get everything, but I'll still go home. I'll still try to think, oh my goodness, is there dinner for my husband? You know, I'll go and pack. When I'm traveling, I'm still checking in at home, you know, are his clothes clean? Did you make dinner for him tonight?
Yeah.
You know, what are you making tonight?
Exactly.
You know, are you keeping with the program? If the menu, if something is missing in the menu, what are we gonna make? You know.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that when he travels. He goes.
He goes.
You know.
I want to talk about help from the men. We haven't talked about your dad.
Yeah.
Tell us something about the support from men, even in the circles of where you work. You know, the kind of support.
Yeah, I think I talked a little bit
Because,
about the male mentors, the Manu Chandarias and all that. I did talk about that, the presidents and all that. I did talk a little bit about that. And when I talked about family, I think I talked about it in general.
Okay.
So
all right.
the women
That's
will
fine.
be more
pronounced.
Right.
Okay.
But they'll be there to hold you on
because
the social side.
Doing it.
Yeah, but the men, I must give it to them. In my family, my dad, my uncles, oh my goodness, those people have been my cheerleaders, you know, and they would stop even when I would be making even when I would be making a career change. I would call them and would reason out with them and would think through, because like before I became the CEO of KEPSA, at that particular time when I interviewed, I was offered 2 jobs. I had an EU delegation job here, at the EU delegation here, and I had a KEPSA job, and I had to weigh the two. And it's so interesting. I remember the 3 men at that point who were very, very involved.
Yeah.
One of them was my uncle. The other one is my mentor, also one of my mentors, Ken Wathome, because Jane, his wife, is my long-term mentor and friend. She's actually my sister in that sense. And then there was the late FT Nyamo. So for some reason, they were there in that season. And I talked to them, and I think even Patrick Obath, because he was the chair of KEPSA at that point. And I talked to them, and differently. And without doubt, they all told me to take the KEPSA job.
Exactly.
You know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
If you were talking to a young Caroline, there are 2 questions in one. What kind of legacy would you want to leave behind? But secondly, if you're talking to a young Caroline, you're 22, you know, the 22 Caroline. What are some of those things you tell Caroline? Oh, I think to get to where this current Caroline is, you need to do A, B, C, D. And then, as a leader, what is the kind of legacy that you'd want to leave behind?
As a young Caroline, I think there are 2 things I would tell her. One, you could decide where you're going and create the path. It's never perfect to be a winding path, to be a rough path, but at least you know where you're going. And then it cannot be a self-goal. It has to be something bigger than yourself.
Absolutely.
Because a self-goal, you can meet it tomorrow.
I know,
and then
right?
what? Or when you've done it, there's no legacy left. So it has to be something bigger than yourself that you're living for and working for. And then that way, you'll have, and something you're passionate about. Don't do something because Lucy became the CEO of I don't know what multinational, so I want it to be. No, it cannot be.
The competition you talk about.
Yes, yeah. You are called to find your calling, find your passion. I don't know how to do things that I'm not passionate about, so I do things because I'm passionate about, whether social or career-wise. So find your passion, then find all the tools you need in every step of the way. You know, is it people? Is it books? Is it new classes? Whatever you need to get you there.
I want you to look in the camera and talk to a lady who wants to grow, who wants to come to a position like yours, but they feel stuck and they just don't know what to do. You know, how do they get there? You know, that's a loaded question, you know, but how do they get there? This would be your camera.
I don't know where they want to get there, first of all.
Yeah.
But if they want to get there, they need to ask themselves, for what?
Yeah.
You know, where do you want to get there? If it's for self, then don't try and get there. You'll fail or you'll get there broken. You know, but if you're getting there because you can see a bigger need that you can serve and you can meet in society, and the only way to meet that need is by getting there, then get the right tools, look for the opportunities, you know, develop yourself and surround yourself with the right people.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. It's
all I
been
could
so
say.
nice talking to you, and I've enjoyed your insights. I appreciate your modesty, honestly, and I'd be looking forward to this meeting, and I'm not disappointed. I'm
Oh,
just glad, so glad that we had this conversation. Now, viewers, we have been talking to Caroline Kariuki, the CEO for Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and she had great insights, and we look forward to another guest just like her who will give us such great insights. I've been your host, Julia Ombasi, and this is Women in Leadership, The Power Within.